Welcome back. We spoke about this earlier. The International Relations Minister Naledi Pandor hosting her Ukrainian counterpart Dmytro Kuleba in Pretoria. Today, the two ministers have held their consultations, and Kiev also expecting to receive some military aid from the West. A lot up for discussion, but the two ministers are now about to brief us on what has taken place behind closed doors. Let's see if we can take you live as that briefing gets underway.
We begin by once more thanking Minister Kuleba for visiting South Africa. We've had really excellent discussions on a range of matters, most particularly our interest in strengthening the bilateral relationship between Ukraine and Russia. We also devoted, between Ukraine and South Africa. We also devoted a great deal of time to discussing the peace process. The peace process led by 7 African leaders, and the need to intensify the work that had begun in trying to identify those matters that would ensure that we get to a point where there's a genuine process leading toward a peaceful outcome for Ukraine, as well as the desired security for the Russian Federation. We briefed the minister on the African development priorities, particularly the African Continental Free Trade Area implementation process. We briefed him on our regional integration agenda and the work we're doing in SADC to strengthen economic and regional integration. Also, South Africa's other peace efforts with respect to South Sudan, Ethiopia, and other parts of the continent, and committed that we will continue to be involved in the unfolding processes directed toward a peaceful resolution of the Russia-Ukraine war. We confirmed that officials from South Africa have been playing a positive role in the discussions on the Ukraine peace formula, which is a set of proposed outcomes that Ukraine has put forward as relevant to achieving a lasting peace. Our National Security Advisor to the President, Professor Mufamadi, as well as the Director General of DIRCO and the Legal Advisor to the President, have participated in all the deliberations on this peace formula, along with other BRICS countries, including China, as well as Brazil. And we hope that those discussions will continue and that they will lead to an outcome that satisfies the interests of the people of Ukraine. Minister.
Thank you, Naledi. First of all, I would like to congratulate all South Africans on the victory of your national rugby union team, Springboks, in the Rugby World Cup 2023. I spent half an hour last night watching the clips from the game, but especially how South Africans celebrated this victory. Well deserved. And given that South Africa has become a world rugby champion for the 4th time in history, I think it will not be an exaggeration to say that you have proven to be not only a true current world champion, but the best country of rugby of all times. Minister Pandor, thank you for your hospitality. I do confirm that we had an excellent in-depth exchange on a range of issues. And it was not only bilateral, it was not only about the Ukraine's fight against the Russian aggression. It was about much broader global issues, and I particularly appreciate the briefing that I received on a number of developments in Africa. Today, Ukraine and South Africa opened a new chapter in their relationship, one based on our shared aspirations for peace, security, and prosperity. Presidents Zelensky and Ramaphosa have given our bilateral relations a significant boost this year, and today we discussed how to maintain that momentum. The discussions we had demonstrated mutual understanding, respect, and a desire to strengthen our bilateral ties. I briefed my South African counterpart in details on the peace formula implementation, and I thanked South Africa for taking active part in relevant meetings in Kiev and abroad. Historically, Ukraine has always been on the side of Africa. As a founding member of the United Nations, Ukraine, alongside with Nigeria, co-chaired the UN Special Committee Against Apartheid. We spared no effort to help you abolish apartheid and ensure the movement to a democratic society in South Africa. Last year, we launched the Ukrainian African Renaissance to revive and boost relationship between Ukraine and African nations. We are opening new embassies in Africa. Recently, Ukraine has become an observer in the Southern African Development Community, and today I very much appreciate the advice and recommendations that I received from Minister Pandor when it comes to developing relations with specific African countries and the African Union. Ukraine genuinely wants to contribute to the development and prosperity of African nations. Of course, we also discussed global food security. Even in times of a full-scale Russian invasion, Ukraine helps guarantee global stability and stands firmly against chaos and food crisis. Ukraine has always paid special attention to food security on the African continent, and President Zelensky's humanitarian program, Grain from Ukraine, aims to alleviate the negative consequences of Russian aggression on countries experiencing food shortages. The other topic of our discussion was nuclear security. Ukraine and South Africa have this thing in common. In 1990, South Africa gave up its nuclear weapons. In 1994, Ukraine gave up the fourth largest nuclear arsenal in the world, and therefore the topic of nuclear de-escalation unites our top countries in the global agenda of nuclear non-proliferation. We today confirmed our mutual determination to advance the priority trade and economic dimensions of our relations, in particular by expanding business ties. Ukrainian businesses are eager to cooperate with their South African counterparts in agriculture, food industry, mining, mechanical engineering, information technologies, digitalization, pharmaceuticals, and other areas. I was pleased, as I said, to have these productive and constructive talks today. I'm looking forward to hosting Minister Pandor in Ukraine as soon as she can come. And finally, before concluding, I would like to thank the people of South Africa for supporting Ukraine since the beginning of the large-scale invasion of Russia. Your solidarity is priceless. We will always remember your support. And I take the responsibility to say that the foundations of this support lies not only in the sympathy that people in Africa have towards the people in Ukraine. And I appreciate the last remark by the minister that in the end the war in Ukraine should end in a result satisfactory for the people of Ukraine. But I also think that the concept of Ubuntu is relevant here, because this concept is centered, I was told, around the notion of humanity. And supporting Ukraine today means Ubuntu. So thank you very much.
We'll now take questions from the media. Please identify yourself, which media house you represent, and please use the microphone next to you. I'll start in front. Identify yourself.
My name is Sophie Mukwena from the South African Broadcasting Corporation. Minister, the first question is directed to Minister Naledi Pandor. Minister, we've just heard the news that South Africa has decided to recall the diplomat in Israel for consultation. Can you briefly elaborate here in terms of what does this process entail and why? And two, South Africa has expressed displeasure in relation to how the Israeli ambassador in South Africa has conducted himself. Can you elaborate where and what? And then on the Ukraine, the matter before us, there were tensions. We can't hide that between South Africa and Ukraine, because South Africa was perceived as being aligned to Russia. Were you able, behind the scenes, to really be frank and deal with those issues? And to the minister, he spoke about the importance of South Africa, and we know that the relationship dates back to exile years and all of that. And you raised concern that there was a lag from 1998. What could have been the reason? And lastly, much as you want South Africa to continue with the warm relationship, President Zelensky's advisors uttered last year that Africa is punching above its weight, and South Africa in particular, when the continent was trying to say, let's be part of assisting to find one another, Russia and Ukraine. Is that President Zelensky's view that Africa is not an issue and you are only respecting the West? And then lastly, your views on the situation in Palestine.
I think since Sophie's asked 2 questions, let's give the minister.
She's asked 10 questions. I was counting them as she sent them out. All right. Why recall our embassy officials? This is normal practice. When there's a situation which is causing a great deal of harm and concern to a country, you would get your officials to come back to the national setting in order to provide you with a full briefing so that you can make a determination as to whether there is any potential for you to be of assistance and whether the continued relationship is actually able to be sustained in all terms. So we need to have this engagement with our officials, because we are, as you would be aware, extremely concerned at the continued killing of children and innocent civilians in the Palestinian territories. And we believe the nature of response by Israel has become one of collective punishment, which falls fully outside of the practice of international humanitarian and international human rights law. So in that regard, we felt it important that we do signal the concern of South Africa while continuing to call for a comprehensive cessation in Palestine. With respect to the displeasure, well, the ambassador of Israel has been making a number of comments almost akin to the statements that were made without proof by the United States ambassador a few months ago. And we felt it important that we should call the ambassador in, and really he should desist from making the kinds of statements he's making without having had any discussion with senior members of the government of South Africa. There seems to be a strange practice among some ambassadors in South Africa that they can just say what they like, and our ambassadors conduct themselves with good grace because that is the directive from us for their deployment elsewhere. But people think they can have a license because I don't know if it's because it's an African country and they disrespect us, but it's something that we should not tolerate.